here with Elizabeth Ward, and Elizabeth has a beautiful collection of buttons and some great ideas for using them in jewelry. Tell us a little bit about the buttons, Elizabeth.
Sure. Well, I have a very nice collection of check glass buttons.
They're gorgeous.
And glass buttons were extremely common in fashion until about the 1960s. And sadly, in the 60s, plastic and metal buttons sort of overtook them in fashion. They were cheaper and they were more durable. So now there are still people making these buttons in the Czech Republic, but they mostly make them for the collector and specialty retail market.
So you have quite a stash here.
Yeah, and the collectors really love certain kinds of buttons. The ones in your hand are called moonglow buttons.
They're beautiful.
Let me show you why they're called moonglow. The back is opaque, and the top is a clear crystal. And these buttons require a lot of work, each one, to make.
Well, and it's great that you have them all organized here too, so that you can see what you have, and sorting them by size. I mean, these are delicate. You really want to protect them.
Yes.
So you can choose your containers that fit.
And I can see them right away. The collectors also, for example, love buttons that are in the shape of something real, so they're called realistic. So we have little shoes, little cicadas. So I just love these buttons. And this is a mold from a factory in the Czech Republic. The person who makes the button has to work in front of a very hot furnace, and he puts this mold in the end of a scissor-like pair of tongs, and he heats up a rod of glass, and then he presses the buttons one at a time.
Wow.
So it's really hard work, and that's why now, not so many people do it anymore.
Right, which makes it even more collectible.
Exactly.
And they're each a little work of art. They're so different. I mean, look at these two here with the ducks, and you can see they came from this mold.
Yeah, two ducks, but you get a completely different look. Here they finished it with gold paint, and here they did what's called an aurora finish.
Those are beautiful.
Very
and
pretty.
a lot of those same techniques are used in beads as well.
Exactly. A lot of the glass finishes are the same in both.
Well, tell us some of your tips that you've come up with for working with buttons and jewelry.
Okay, well, everybody has grandma's buttons or a few collectible buttons, and I really wanted to make some jewelry, but I was finding that the buttons that have the shank kept turning and twisting on me. So I've come up with a few ways to prevent that from happening. This large button makes a great pendant, but what I found was it requires a counterweight. So while the chain is pulling it up, the tassel that I hung on the bottom of the shank is pulling it down. And that means that it's sure to lie flat when you're wearing it.
Physics and jewelry, I like it.
And the second thing was, I like these big band bracelets, but again, the shanks would create a situation where the buttons would just spin. So what I did for that, I ran multiple strands of beads through spacer bars. And by positioning a spacer bar before the shank and after the shank, you create a situation where the button really does lie perfectly flat.
Smart.
And the spacer bars come in different widths. I just as well could have gotten a longer one and used larger beads if I wanted to make a bigger cuff bracelet.
Sure.
So this is my favorite. This is using buttons as charms. So you can see here are the different buttons that I integrated into this charm bracelet. And it's so simple. Say you have 5 special buttons. You take a big open link piece of chain. Standard bracelet is 7 inches. And then I wanted to space my buttons evenly. So I already attached the first 3. And now I just have the last 2.
And that's really a good tip for designing any kind of jewelry, is to create those focal pieces first and then fill in with accents afterward.
Exactly, exactly. So what I do is I have 2 pair of needle nose pliers, and I'm going to open my jump ring. And you always open the jump ring. You don't pull it apart. You sort of gently push it so that you don't stress the metal. So you want to run this through the shank and simply attach it
to your chain.
To your chain.
Great.
And with this, I find that the more you add to your bracelet, the less likely these buttons are to spin around. So, more is great. Just keep adding. If every link has a little charm
so
or
you
a
could
button.
have more charms and head pin dangles too.
Exactly.
And I like the way that you incorporated bead caps and things like that too.
Yeah, I wanted something a little bit larger, so I added the bead caps to add some drama, add some flair. And I even added some very old lamp worked beads that I had.
Oh, beautiful. It's a fun assemblage.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with this.
Definitely. Now tell us about the button clasp.
Okay, so this is very common now because macrame and working with leather is really popular. So a lot of people would like to use a button as a toggle clasp. So what I did, I cut this piece of cord 24 inches long, and you simply attach, I just ran the cord through the button, got it to the center point, and tie a simple overhand knot. And you want to bring that knot all the way up to the shank. So that's very simple. Then here, I strung some beads onto both sides of my cording. And now I'm ready to create the loop. So this is the toggle, and now I need a loop. So make a knot.
And does it matter? I guess you would just choose the cording that works best for the beads that you're wanting to string.
Exactly.
You could use any thickness, really.
Yeah, these are some Japanese triangle beads, and they had pretty big holes, so I was able to just string them without a needle or anything.
Oh, that makes it easy.
So I have this cord, and I have this button. So I want to eyeball it so that when I make my second knot, I've got just enough room to push the button through the loop that I've created, but not so much that it's loose. So this is about where my knot has to be.
Okay.
Make my second knot here.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Perfect.
Very, very simple.
It is, and that really shows off your beautiful button too. What a great way to use your collection.
Thank you.
You're welcome.